what should it feel like to close with my lender? I don't want to feel handed off a bunch of times if we can help it.
I'm Allison LaForgia, the managing editor of HousingWire's content studio, and I am joined by someone who needs no introduction, Jeremy Potter.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you for being here. So, Jeremy, you've spent your career at the intersection of legal, title, and fintech. Where do you see the biggest opportunities to modernize?
I think one of the things that I had thought about a lot is how we use data and where we use data. One of the biggest areas to modernize is using what you know about your customer, about your lead, about your file, about your loan, whatever you call it, wherever it sits. What do I already know about it? And what can I supplement or add to that to do more faster? And so using those indicators or using those data points, whether they come in from the web, whether they come in from a lead gen provider or from your referral source, or whether they come from your actual system because you've worked with them, because you know them, because you already have some of that, and actually making that more valuable to everyone turns the whole process from reactive to proactive in many cases, because now you're actually doing tasks or other indicators ahead of the way you would have done it yesterday or the day before.
And you spend a lot of time on the innovation side.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about what's broken in the closing and title process.
Okay.
And who's actually fixing it? Who's making some progress here?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I just mentioned was, what is the order that things happen in? What is the order of operations? And often we're waiting way too long to ask for a task, ask for an order, ask for a partner to do something. The trends I'm seeing that are actually really interesting, using data fields or data points, or even how many of the data points are full and ready to then trigger a task automatically, either from your own system or from a partner. So let's take title as an example. If you have the right setup up front and you've configured your leads and your applications to come in a certain way, your system knows when it's the right time to order title. You don't have to wait. And then the title company can get started earlier with what they already know from the property address and the other data that you've shared as a partner. So what you end up seeing is you end up getting almost like your system's getting a head start on what already should be happening, and you don't have to wait to call, check on it, get a status, have somebody push a button to order title, and that happens earlier. So those things we used to hear about title taking 10 days, it's taking 2 to 3 days, maybe even 24 hours, because you're triggering it off the data as it comes in, and you know how complete a file is, and then you know how quickly to order a title policy, and then to complete that transaction. So that's, I think, one of the things that's moving digital lenders faster with their title partners by just integrating.
So we're actually using our data.
So yeah, we're actually using
our data and applying it to our tech process and optimizing things to move. I mean, the idea of going from 10 days to shorter than that is amazing. I mean, what consumer doesn't want to have the same level or the same process at a shorter time span?
Yeah, it's one of those things where if, let's say, there are 99 discrete tasks that have to happen on a loan from start to finish. Well, if 98 of those take 24 hours and the last one takes 7 days, it took 7 days. So you actually do have to think through every discrete task to get it to 24, 48, 72 hours to get the whole loan to get there someday. And that's where we are today.
And that 7 days is extremely noticeable.
Extremely noticeable, because everyone's sitting waiting.
So let's talk a little bit about trust.
Mm-hmm.
Where is trust being built or lost for consumers, between consumers and lenders, in this process in a time when consumer expectations are so high?
Yes. The number one thing we hear from consumers in either market research or direct feedback is when you ask me for something I've already provided multiple times. A subset of that category is asking me for something you should already know. So more and more we're seeing lenders try to avoid that. First of all, I mean, understanding your process and that to not make the mistake of asking twice is an important part. But actually what happens is asking the consumer, is this still true, can be a fundamental question to make them feel part of the process, when what you're doing is just verifying, I do have it, I don't know if it's true, and I don't want to use it if it's not. So now I'm just asking you, is this still true? Is this still true? Is this still true? They feel like you knew, or you should have known that, but you're getting the verification and validation. You need to move that faster in underwriting or to closing. And so I think that's the biggest thing is don't ask consumers for things that they feel you should know or that you've certainly already asked them for.
So digging in a little bit more to that consumer journey, you've mentioned the change in the length that it takes to close and the actual application of data.
Yep.
So how do you think technology is helping in that process? And where do you see success with technology helping the process?
I think the biggest thing that would make the biggest difference to the way a consumer feels about mortgage and the process is using those individualized data points about their income, their employment, and some of the other factors about them, like credit, to put together a better offer, a more customized offer. We know when it's personalized and customized, or feels personalized and customized, that it has a higher satisfaction score. So using technology and data, the way you said, we're actually using our data, you said that earlier. What I like to say is now combine that with not true customization, but the feeling of customization. And the example I like to use is an iPhone. I recently ordered an iPhone. I didn't have a lot of choices. It was the amount of memory I needed, it was maybe the model, it was maybe the screen size, and it was maybe the color. But even the color was about 4 or 5 colors. I felt I had made all the choices and personalized it and had it sent to me. But I didn't have that many choices. So I think it's like that with mortgage. It's not that there is going to be some revolutionary structure that changes how all of these lenders deliver the product and pricing offer. It's actually saying, based on what you just gave us, we know this about you, make these 3 choices, and now you feel like you've customized your mortgage. So it's incorporating the customer into that experience with the data you already have.
That's such an interesting concept, the idea of having the consumer make an active choice in their process so they feel better about it throughout the rest of the process, through closing and then afterwards.
Exactly. And so I think the underwriting part is critical to that when it comes to income and employment verification. I also worked on just the experience itself. What should it feel like to close with my lender? I don't want to feel handed off a bunch of times if we can help it. We still tend to do that a lot. Technology that we've been talking about is a lot of the data and processing technology. There's also a lot of just great UX, consumer experience technology, that we could do a lot more with to not have the consumer feel the handoffs. We understand, at least today, they're still largely required behind the scenes. We got to do a better job making them feel like this is still my closing as a lender. I still care about what's about to happen. I'm still going to move you into my servicing book. You don't have to feel that transition behind the scenes. Of course, we're QCing the loan, we're delivering the loan, we're getting paid on that, we're moving you into our servicing book. But there is much better and smoother technology we can use so that you don't feel that.
Because it can make the consumer feel like the whole process is a little transactional.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
And we want to avoid that because that's an icky feeling.
And whenever we hear about what's making the most value out of companies, talk about value a lot. We heard it on stage, lifetime value of the client. We heard it a bunch this week. Well, lifetime value of the client means this is what you're experiencing this time, and I'm foreshadowing what you're going to experience for the rest of our time together, whether it's 30 years or 30.
Right.
I want you to know this is what you have to come. The only way to do that is to think about it the way you just described.
And it goes back to that building trust question that we talked about.
Exactly.
So Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me. Before we leave, tell me one trend that you're keeping your eye on. One trend that I'm keeping my eye on is how we buy homes better, faster, stronger than, say, a cash buyer, right? I think we talked a lot about proactive data and enabling or empowering our customers to feel like we know what they need. One of the trends I think we're really not leveraging is giving them approvals in a way that they can actually use it to beat a cash buyer, to win that contract in the market. Often we kind of leave it up to real estate. As the mortgage industry, we leave it up to a builder to build. I think we can do a better job saying to builders, I have 2,000 pre-approvals in your MSA, in your zip code. Can we build 100 houses? That's a small conversion. Can I build 200? That's 10% conversion. Saying to real estate, are you jockeying for position with a cash buyer? Here's how my cash coming from my lender is actually better than the cash. And so those trends actually require the data and technology to work with a professional to lock that in. Now that's a big trend, that's a big dream, but I think it actually helps us, especially in the mortgage and title side,
validate we're here to give a differentiator to the customer and to the real estate agent in winning that house.
I love that. Jeremy, thank you so much for spending time with me
Great
tonight.
to see you, Allison.
Nice to talk to you as always. And to our audience, for more information about Jeremy, you can check out the link below.
Thank you.